Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the Baldur's Gate 3 companions on a relationship pairing tier list. So I'll be ranking them whether I think that they would be good in a relationship or not, as this game is heavily involved in that. I did a bunch of research because they have a lot of lines together and there is some hints that they give if they're actually interested in each other or not. So the first thing we got here is Shadowheart and Astarion. Now, they're an interesting pairing because in Act 1 they're both very evil. And they both can have a bit of a redemption arc, although Astarion seems to stay more on the evil side of things. I can definitely see it working together, both of them, being a Shadowheart being a worshipper of Shar, and Astarion being the vampire that he is. I don't think they have the most perfect chemistry, and I think they actually both would have a better pairing, but I still see the appeal. They could definitely, and especially if you play a Shadowheart or Astarion, I think that they would have a pretty decent pairing. It's not the best pairing for each other, but I do think that they would work out. So yeah, I'm going to put them in I can see the appeal tier. Next, we have Shadowheart and Karlach, and this is a funny one because Shadowheart actually kind of hints that she's interested in Karlach. She says that she wants Karlach to pick her up over her shoulders and carry her around, and there's a lot of little minor flirting between the two of them throughout the game. Now, everyone seems to really like Karlach. I think she's the most loved character by the other companions, but I do see that I could see the Shadowheart and Karlach getting along very well together. Karlach obviously has some issues with the Infernal Engine and all the heat, but I feel like in Act 3 they could really have something special. So I want to put it in I can see the appeal because I do think there is both better pairings for both of them. So yeah, they would probably work out fairly fine, but next we have a very interesting pairing because Lae'zel and Shadowheart at the start of the game absolutely hate each other. Now, I actually think that this is a pretty good pairing because, one, they do overcome their hatred for each other throughout the game. So I guess more into Act 3, this could actually be a really good pairing. Similar to, I feel like Wyll and Karlach have a bit of a good pairing because he was sent to kill her, Demon Hunter versus Demon. And kind of similar appeal here. Shadowheart does not like Gith, and Lae'zel does not like Shadowheart because she has the Astral Prism and a whole other bunch of reasons. But they kind of kindle together and get over their differences throughout the story of the game. And it's kind of an interesting pairing because they do hate each other, probably easily the most out of all the companions. They hate each other, but they overcome that and they get along well throughout this story of the game. I love that pairing. I think that they would be a very interesting pairing. Lae'zel's very cold and more straight to the point, and they are both kind of sassy. So I feel like they could honestly go together fairly well. I don't think it's the best pairing for Shadowheart, but yeah, I still feel like they could, hit it off. Next, we have Astarion and Karlach. Now, Karlach's chaotic good, Astarion's chaotic evil. I don't think that they actually have the best pairing together. I feel like both of them probably have better pairings elsehow. Karlach being really good to the bone, and Astarion, even at his best, is still pretty evil. I do think they would clash in terms of their beliefs at times, so I want to put them in the F tier, actually. I don't think that they would make it as, actually, I'll put them in the better as best friends, because they both, I guess, would be good. They're good friends, but I don't think anything more than that. Next, we have Astarion and Lae'zel. And what's actually interesting is they do bonk each other later on in the game. So if you turn down Lae'zel before the party in Act 1, she will find her way to getting with Astarion, Gale, or Wyll. But it seems like she mostly gravitates towards Astarion. So I think that they would be a pretty good pairing, honestly. Lae'zel being a very cold and she likes anything. Like most times in Act 1, whenever you do something evil, it's these two that approve of your actions. So she was raised a certain way and he's been through a lot. So I actually think they could have a pretty interesting story with kind of the backstory that both of them have. So I'll put it in the I can see the appeal, maybe upwards of I love this. I think they would actually be a pretty good pairing in all honesty. So yeah. Next, we have Gale and Astarion. Now, Gale's a tough one. In my opinion, his romance isn't that great because he's so caught up on Mystra, he'd just be rebounding. And Astarion, who's been through literal hell for 200 years, I feel like he deserves better than someone that wouldn't be as interested in him as if they are with their goddess Mystra. So, cursed to F tier. I'll put in the F tier just because Astarion deserves better than someone like Gale, who's I love Gale. Gale's my favorite character in this game, but he's really caught up on Mystra, and I don't think that his relationships are as great as some of the other ones. So I'm going to put that in the F tier just because I feel like Astarion deserves better after everything he's been through, and Gale can't really give him that. So we'll put him in the F tier there. Next, we have Gale and Karlach, and this is another funny one because Karlach's like a big brute, and Gale is like a wizard with 8 strength. They could potentially go together, but I do feel like this is another one where they're better off just being friends because, yeah, there's just a lot of differences there. Even I feel like Gale and Lae'zel is a better pairing, so Karlach's kind of she's a good friend to everyone, so I don't know. I'm going to put this one in the cursed because I just don't think that, again, one, Gale is still caught up on Mystra, so he wouldn't be able to give the relationship the full attention that it deserves, and Karlach deserves someone that's going to love her, so I'm going to put that one in cursed. And also, Karlach would be the strongest one in this relationship by far, and I don't know, Gale's got a lot of ego to him, so he might get offended by that. I don't know. I just feel like they are kind of either better as friends or cursed. I'm just going to put it in cursed. Next, we have Gale and Lae'zel. This one's kind of interesting because at first, Lae'zel's like, "Oh, you wizard," calls him weak all the time and literally just thinks he's below her because she's a warrior and she's strong and she was taught all these things, and kind of similar to Minthara, but Lae'zel actually does come around on Gale and starts to like him a little bit more as you see throughout the game. She does respect his magic, and Gith are known for a couple things. Like, they're known for being great fighters, but also they're the Gish archetype, which is a fighter-wizard mix. So she does have a respect for magic, and you do start to see that open up as the game progresses. So I feel like they could be a decent pairing, so I will put it, I can see the appeal. This will probably be the most popular tier, I'm already guessing, because, yeah, I feel like that Lae'zel, she's very closed off at the very start of the game, but she just has like this weird kind of hatred for Gale that she does develop a bit of an admiration for his wizardry. So I would put them in I can see the appeal. I'm doing a Gale origin run at the moment. Maybe I'll see if they have any chemistry, but I feel like Gale, again, he's very caught up on Mystra, so his relationships aren't that great, I would say, but Lae'zel would make sense, and also Lae'zel does go after him in the game, so she does typically prefer Astarion, but she will go after Gale, and well, she is very straight and to the point, and Gale is yapaholic, the mayor of Yapsville. He loves to talk. I feel like they would overcome their differences with time, but I feel like there's some others that are much better pairings. Next, we got Gale and Shadowheart. Now, this is another one because they're both devoted to their goddesses with Shar and Mystra, and also she kind of converts into Selenite, so I would say I'm going to put them in I can see the appeal a little bit higher than Lae'zel because they're both overcoming their devotion to their goddesses, and well, Gale is obviously still very obsessed with Mystra as you go through the game. Shadowheart does turn her back to Shar at a certain point if you make a certain decision, and if it's a good Shadowheart and a good Gale, I feel like they could Gale will get over Mystra at some point, I feel like, in the story of things after the game ends. But I do feel like they could have some potential chemistry there, as they would be able to rekindle and talk about how they were both, kind of blinded by their goddesses respectively, so I can see the appeal of these two getting together. Yeah, maybe a little bit more than Lae'zel, because Lae'zel is kind of rude to him at first, but yeah, I'll stick him there. Next, we got Karlach and Lae'zel. This is another interesting one, because Lae'zel definitely has some admiration for Karlach. I could see this working together. They're both warriors, Karlach being a soldier from Avernus, and Lae'zel being a soldier a fighter for the Gith. I do think that they could have some very good chemistry there, although Karlach does have to go to Avernus, so that is one of the big downsides to that at the end of the game. If she wants to live, she does have to leave the lands there, so I would actually put this, and I love this. I feel like they're both very similar. They're the two strongest in terms of overall physical feats in Baldur's Gate 3, whereas Shadowheart's a cleric. I do think that they got a lot of chemistry there, so I would put them there. And actually, Lae'zel does have some kind of flirty lines, not to the point of Shadowheart saying that she wants Karlach to throw her over the shoulder, but she does kind of have some lines. And Karlach too to Lae'zel, they do have that kind of respect for each other, and I could see it work. I'm gonna put it in I love this, and I might even move Astarion and Lae'zel up a little bit there. I got Lae'zel in all the top tiers. Girl needs her love. Next, we got Wyll and Astarion. Now, this is another one that I actually think works actually pretty well, because they actually do have some lines in the game kind of flirting with each other, and Astarion himself said that he wanted the knight in shining armor to come and help him, and he sees Wyll as that knight in shining armor. So, Wyll being the lawful good character on one end of the spectrum, and if you go all the way across, you have chaotic evil, which is Astarion. So, kind of that opposites attract mentality, which psychologically is not true, but I do think that they could work out together well. So I'm going to put this in I love this. I feel like they could have something together, because Astarion, he needed someone to save him, and no one ever did save him. But I feel like in a good Astarion run, Wyll would be good for him, because Wyll's so lawful and straight to the point. He's literally the knight in shining armor that Astarion wants. So yeah, I'll put them in the I love this. That was one that I had to do a bit of research on, but I do think that they do have some chemistry together, even though they are kind of like the opposites in terms of their alignment. But yeah, I still think that they could make something work. Next, we got Wyll and Gale. This is another one that I just don't really think works out too well. Gale still obsessed with Mystra, and Wyll, Mizora. So, I don't know. I feel like there is better pairings for these two. Gale just... I feel like Gale's romance in this game is just not as good as some of the other ones, because at the end of the day, he's still thinking about Mystra. So I want to put this one in the cursed tier, because I just don't feel like Wyll is a great dude. He deserves better than someone like Gale that is just not going to give it his all in the relationship. But they could potentially have some chemistry, but I don't really see it that well. They're probably better off as, yeah, I'll put them in better as friends. They're both into magic. One signed a pact with they were also these are two of the strongest characters before the game even started. Both of them would be close to around level 20 before they got tadpoled in the Netherese orb. So yeah, I'd say they'd be best friends. They both like magic, and yeah, I'll put them there. Next, we got Wyll and Karlach, and I think that this is actually the best companion pairing in the game. I'm going to put it at the very top of the I love this tier. Wyll, at the very start of the game, is sent to kill Karlach, and he doesn't do that. He protects her, most times. And he gets cursed by Mizora because of that. So, like, they have the perfect, like, Hallmark movie relationship, I would say. And also, one of the happiest endings in the game is if Wyll goes to Avernus with Karlach. So, they already have the ending in the game that just makes perfect sense. I think that these two are meant to be together for sure. Like, the story just is very interesting too. As I said, Hallmark movie type relationship, but I love that. I think that they canonically should be together, so I'm going to put that in that tier there. Next, we got Wyll and Lae'zel. This is another interesting one. I don't really think that they have a whole lot of chemistry in the game, but potentially they could, maybe make something work. So I don't know. There isn't they don't really have much dialogue. I feel like they have the least dialogue between the two of them compared to anyone else in this game. Yeah, I don't really think that Lae'zel is down with Wyll too much. So yeah, I'm gonna put it as probably better as friends. Maybe I could see the appeal of it. If someone's in the comments can leave a comment with any of their experience between these two characters. I did a bunch of research and I couldn't really figure out if they have any, chemistry. And even in my few playthroughs, or my multiple playthroughs of the game, they didn't really have too much going on together. So yeah, I'm going to put them better as friends. And then finally, we got Wyll and Shadowheart. This is another interesting one. If you got a redeemed Shadowheart, like if she goes to Selenite, I would say that she would pair well with Wyll. Wyll is obviously the lawful good character out of the mix, and I could see it working together between the two of them. They might not be the most close in terms of similarities. Shadowheart has Shar, obviously at the start of the game, making her evil. Wyll is a good character, but he has Mizora kind of tying him down. I don't know. I feel like they could potentially, I might be able to see the potential there, but I'm going to put it in the better as best friends. I feel like that is probably where they're best situated at. Maybe I'll move Astarion up with Lae'zel, because they do bonk. They do the deed in the game. So yeah, I'm going to put them in I love this. Maybe, let's see. Karlach and Wyll is definitely the best relationship pairing in this game. Wyll and Karlach, best pairing. Shadowheart and Lae'zel, a very interesting pairing because they hate each other, kind of similar to them at the start, they're after each other, but they do overcome their differences. Lae'zel and Karlach, it just makes sense. They're both strong warriors, and they have very similar interests. One being more chaotic, one being more lawful. So I feel like that kind of combination would go well together. Lae'zel and Astarion, they do have interest in each other, so that's an easy one. And then Wyll and Astarion. Some people might disagree with that, but Astarion literally says that Wyll is that knight in shining armor that he always wanted to come save him. So I don't know about you, but I feel like that is pretty clear that he has some interest in him. So there it is. There's what I think of the Baldur's Gate 3 companions in a relationship tier list. So I'm shipping them together. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I always find these really interesting, especially something like this is more subjective than anything. So yeah, leave a comment below. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.